Good morning everyone. In this video I'm going to be analysing the live price action for EU and DXY to see what opportunities may be available today. You're going to see my strategy and my analysis, so if you're interested in those then please stick around. Right, so starting off here on the daily, EU on the top, DXY on the bottom. So what can we see from the daily? Now that deceleration that I was mentioning previously continued yesterday and we closed out as our first bearish candle. Nothing massive, but showed some bearish intention, and we still have quite a bit of this daily fair value gap to fill. Now today we've started off bearish, we've continued bearish overnight through Asia into now the London Open, as you can see, and we still have a bit of the fair value gap or imbalance, as I mentioned, for us to go into. We've also taken our previous daily low, sell side liquidity, which so far obviously has done nothing, and we're continuing bearish. Inversely on DXY, we've gone through our previous daily high. The buy side liquidity there has done nothing. We've completely filled this imbalance here at this moment, not providing any resistance. There's not much to tell on the daily. Apart from that, well, we do still have room to mitigate up here in this premium and down here on DXY in the discount. We've rejected this premium area so far and we are having a pullback. And the same with DXY, we've rejected this discount area and we are pulling back somewhat. So let's go down to the 4 hour and see what that shows. So as I mentioned, we've continued bearish since yesterday. The last couple 4 hour candles have closed out bearish. We have completely filled this 4 hour imbalance, which I had drawn out in the last couple of videos. We have completely closed beyond it, so its relevance may not be there, but I just thought I would leave that in to show we have filled a POI. We are not yet in a discount really on this 4 hour leg that I identified. However, that was the first point of resistance. We have some smaller imbalances down here and this order block here, which may be a draw on price. I also mentioned in the previous video this lower high here, once we've made this small sort of bullish run, did fail to make a higher high, and it did indicate somewhat that price may continue lower, which it has now. It stalled and showed its intent to no longer make any more higher highs, and now we look like we may be pulling back to a discount or just this POI in this area here. More importantly, on DXY, this is the leg here, as you can see I've drawn out. We have pulled back to our premium POI, which is this 4 hour order block and imbalance. So that's our first area of resistance here, where we're seeing price kind of stall at this moment. We've met this 4 hour imbalance, completely filled it. At the same time, we've come into this order block here and we are being held at this point at the moment. So DXY has pulled back correctively to this POI. So we're going to monitor what price does in this area as our first area of resistance on DXY to see if it's then going to continue with this bearish leg down into this daily and 4 hour POI there. So internally, we'll have switched bearish, which we'll see on the 1 hour. But I do think we're in an important zone here that may provide support and resistance on DXY. So I think that's clear on the 4 hour. Not much has changed except for this pullback now. So let's go down to the 1 hour and see if that shows us anything more. So in regards to the 1 hour leg, we are just about around the equilibrium from the low of the leg to the high of the leg here. Price consolidated, as I was showing, made this lower high, slight lower low with the wick, lower high again, now a proper lower low. Now we've got our internal leg to this leg from this previous daily high down to this low now here. So that's how I see it. We are in this 4 hour POI. We've kind of spiked into this small imbalance that was left behind here. I don't want to put massive weight on that. However, it is around the same zone as we are in this 4 hour POI here. Now we do still have more imbalance on the 1 hour, so possibly DXY could reach up further, meaning this could reach down a little bit into this order block area, and we could fill this imbalance and order block on DXY as well. Now of course we did leave behind some imbalances up here, more into the premium of this new bearish leg. We've made that lower low, right? So from this high to this low, we've got a order block and imbalance there. So if price does show some support at this area, we may pull back up into this zone here as a draw on price. So this imbalance and order block is a draw on price if we do start to create lower time frame structure to the upside as a pullback into a premium of this leg from this support, from this resistance. We have the same imbalances and order block on DXY, so it would make sense. We also have that resistance here. So we do have to consider both sides of price, right? The buyers and the sells. Obviously we've created a bearish leg. We are or were in a premium. So we could continue with this new bearish leg downwards. However, we can consider that when we are back in a premium at these POIs. So for now, while we are in the discount of this new leg and around this equilibrium with support and resistance here, I think we can look at buys. However, preferably for sells, as I mentioned in my previous videos, I don't want to sell EU into this area as this resistance here because there are some POIs where price could form resistance. But if price does show that intention and that momentum, then why not? But that's only if it looks good and DXY somehow looks a bit more positive in this area. I don't really want to trade against those high time frame POIs or buy side liquidity if we take it first. So that's just my summary there. Probably do favor the buys because we'll have less resistance. There are of course the possibilities of us continuing this bearish pullback down into a discount. So I hope that's not too confusing. Hope everything I said was clear. Let's go down to the M15 and see what opportunities may look like for today. So here on the M15, it's kind of like the picture from the last couple days. So during this week, we've had no high impact news. And I think you'll realize price doesn't move very well without that high impact news usually. Price doesn't tend to move as predictably or give you the pullback. Sometimes it just goes in its direction in a really boring way. So it's now Wednesday and there's no high impact news, and today is a French bank holiday. I think tomorrow there's more European bank holidays like in Germany. But yeah, that was just a side note on those days without news, price tends to be a bit boring. Regarding price today, I do like where we are. We've got this Asia here in this yellow box. Now you'll notice the order flow on the M15 is still very much lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. So that hasn't switched yet in terms of a long bullish bias, right? We have pulled back up from this small range we created here and gone into this M15 order block, which we have currently rejected and we are pulling back down. And now I have no problem with that. I think that looks really good actually. We've left, you could say almost equal lows here, but we've got that Asia low sell side liquidity still remaining. My preference for buys, because we are at this resistance and we have filled this imbalance here, would be for price to do this, pull back down, sweeping these lows below Asia for internal sell side liquidity, and then for price to break above this high. It doesn't have to be this high. Preferably if price comes down correctively and creates a short-term high, maybe around this area, it'd be great because then the leg wouldn't be so big and so close to taking buy-side liquidity. But anyway, back to what I was doing. Taking sell-side liquidity, break of structure, and then we get a nice good pullback to our lower time frame order block imbalance here for us to trade with that liquidity to the highs. Right, so it would look something like this. We would have our sell side liquidity swept. So with the sell side liquidity swept from below Asia, we would then have the cycle on our side. If we break this structure here, we have some possible inducement from a corrective pullback. We would have our order block and imbalance, which would be nicely below the daily open, and we could set our order here, trade into the highs, stop loss just below the lows. And yeah, I think that would look really good if we could get this. As I said, we may come down a bit more correctively and create a short-term high somewhere around here, which would be lovely because then we can have the breaker structure lower down. So yeah, break that high, pull back, leave some inducement hopefully above the entry area, and then we trade upwards. I think that would look great. We would also have more of a mitigation of this POI up here. On DXY, we'd take the buy side liquidity of Asia from DXY as well, and then it can head down towards well, that imbalance it had and more of that discount. So we would be heading towards that 1 hour POI and imbalance area up here, which should be a draw on price. So that would also be on our side. So I do think this looks really good for a morning opportunity. Of course, price could continue lower because, as I said, the order flow hasn't switched until we do this break of structure. So if we do continue downwards, that's fine. We won't lose the trade because we haven't broken structure and it hasn't looked like this yet. This would be my preference. I don't want to discuss shorts at the moment because it would be quite difficult to forecast with all this resistance that I mentioned, but potentially we would have DXY going for some more buy side liquidity above the highs of that order block. Now, if this is too risky for us, of course, you can catch a continuation if it breaks a high and presents another entry. But yeah, I think this looks good. Sweep of Asia, head towards the other side of Asia as usual, heading towards a premium and the order blocking imbalance that's on the 1 hour up here. So this is the main opportunity I'm going to keep my eye on today. So I hope you gained value from that. I hope everything made sense. Any questions, let me know in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.